And I'm Byron.
Welcome to the home of entrepreneurship.
Okay, so we are on the way to our book launch. But what I wanted to just talk about is what it takes to have a successful book launch. Now, I say that with tongue-in-cheek because what does success mean and to who, right? First of all, what is it? Does it mean numbers? Does it mean people live? How do you measure it? And I think it must be measurable, right? But my question to you is, let's talk about some of the things that we have done to ensure it's successful. So talk about the venue, the choices behind that, all the little finer details to make sure that we pull off a phenomenal book launch. And would you advise people to have launches for their products? That's a whole other topic actually. We'll do that on the next one. Right, over to you. So my first question.
What's the first question?
So what does it take? What does it take to have a successful book launch?
I mean, so with the first book we had about 4 book launches, and I think we've learned a lot since then about what we would change, and so we're on the way to the launch, so we don't really know if it's successful as of yet. But I think that it takes a good choice of venue. I think you have to be cognizant of like how much space you need, about seating arrangements, sound, light, visuals, all of that stuff is important. And I think when we first looked at venues, there was the option to go to like, you know, a private members club or like a smaller space that would have maybe been a bit more, I don't know, might feel more a bit like chic or exclusive or whatever. But we wanted one that would hold good number of people. And I think where before we had 3 different launches, 3 different areas, there's a lot of work. And to be fair, they were full, but some of them. But I think we wanted to have one big one this time. And I guess like COVID and the pandemic played its part in terms of like how full we want the venue to be, and the size and social distance and all that stuff. So there's so many things to consider, and how central we would be. So it was a lot of things to think about.
You know what? Let's talk about the journey, because when we first did our first set of book launches, we had 2 types of tickets, and how different it is from now. So 4 years ago, plus just over 4 years ago, we did 4 launches or 3 launches. I don't know if we can count the library as a launch, but we have 3 official launches and 1 semi-launch.
Yeah.
And for all of those events, we did 2 types of tickets. One, a paid ticket with a book, and then we did free tickets. So if you wanted to come, you just have to book your ticket and you come. You have to make a commitment, nothing. And we got all of those venues for free. Now, it's so different. 4 years on, we've sold more tickets than we've done for the previous 3, but no free tickets.
No free tickets, yeah.
For a couple
and we paid for the venue.
It wasn't a fortune for the venue, but it just shows the evolution of our audience, but also as a brand, but also as an events company, that journey. Because before we probably didn't have the volume of people, you know. And then as well, it's quite interesting. We talk about, you know, people support you when you become successful. And nobody knew about the first book.
Yeah.
Nobody knew if it was being successful. But then they saw the success. Does that have a part to play in it?
I think we've evolved as individuals and as a brand. I think maybe partly it's about kind of like confidence in the audience that you have. I think when we first had our first book, it was quite new to us with Big Green, and we didn't know that we could necessarily get all those bums on seats. And I think we were even pleasantly surprised when it was like standing room only in our Angel one. We learned fast.
So the first one, talk about the first one.
So the first one we had in Croydon, again, free tickets, whatever. It was oversubscribed in terms of number. No, it wasn't oversubscribed. We had a certain number, I can't remember what the number was. Maybe it was 100, for example. Yeah. And we sold 100 tickets. It was free, but we registered 100 people. And I think we had like 50% 60% dropout.
It was a high dropout.
60% dropout, and that was the first time we realised, and other people said to us after, this happens all the time. If you do a free event, 60% of people don't turn up. Like, people just registered and they're like, oh, I can't be bothered, I didn't put any money in it, didn't cost me anything, I'm just not going to turn up, right? So we learned from that, so that the next one we had, which was an Angel, it was still free because it was, you know, too late by then to start charging, unless people bought a book, which then they had a book included in their ticket. But it was we sold more tickets, 20 or 30% more than we had this capacity, and that resulted in it being, I mean, everyone turned up. Not everyone, but near enough. Sod's law, and I think maybe because they saw the first one or whatever.
We only had standing room.
So we had standing room only, but it made for a really nice event. Really nice event. So we learned from those mistakes that going forward, for any events we've had on or offline since, if the event is free or the event is low cost, always sell 20% more than you need, because of the fact that people just don't turn up. So that was a big lesson, I think.
But also just that follow-up process. So, you know, we've learned a lot from this. I mean, we can do a whole workshop on this, but even that follow-up process after they've registered is so important, especially if it's free. But yeah,
reminders and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely, and how the language is and so on and so forth. So yeah.
But even with paid events, people sometimes just don't turn up.
Oh, no doubt.
We found that too. Like, it was incredible
bizarre
how many people bought tickets and didn't turn up, didn't ask for the book, nothing, just didn't come.
Well, I've had some people message me and say, Byron, bought a ticket but can't make it today.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I've heard people saying that, oh, like one person, it wasn't their fault, they've gone on holiday for their birthday surprise from their husband, which is lovely. But like, yeah.
No, he was selfish.
2 VIP, yeah, I know, I'm going to message him actually. I'm going to message them because I'm like, how dare, I've just realised where they are. They're in Dubai, and I'm like, how dare you? How dare you take
when
to
we
Dubai
back?
when we're not there? Anyway, I'm going to message him. I'll talk to you about it later. So anyway, so they were like, oh, just give it out to someone. But they just, it's what it is, right? I guess if you've committed and you still want someone to benefit. But yeah, people do. But anyway, moving back to the thing. So we learned, I guess, to oversubscribe if you're going to do free events. We learned to basically charge people to attend if they're going to get great value and a good time, and make it more than just about a book launch. You know what? The other thing I wanted to say actually about making it free, I think we had taken on board too much of what other people had done for their book launches. Most people don't charge entry book launches. Most people have it for free. So there was a narrative that, oh no, it's free. People do, it's a free event. You have a book launch, it's free.
Not the self-made way.
Nah, no more, because it's your time. Your time is valuable.
We put so much into it. Even like, look at the back. You've got here your drinks and everything else.
Your cups, your drinks, your wine.
Venue costs.
It's all costs, right?
Yeah.
So you have to make it worthwhile and a great time. So it's about balancing those two things. So I think that's important.
You got your host.
Yeah, we've got a host.
All these things cost. So yeah. We'll leave it at that. I think that sums it up. So there's a couple of things there.
Your question was about how to make a good event. So that's it. Good venue,
some hints
good plan, have a schedule, and give enough lead time to sell the tickets and so on. Lead time's important.
I always see this, sometimes even with my mentees.
Even though we told them not to.
We're like, doing an event in 3 weeks' time. 3 weeks?
3 weeks, sometimes it's like a week or 2 weeks. Yeah.
3 weeks ain't so bad.
Yeah.
But it's still a lot. There's so much that goes into it.
Yeah.
We did 4 months for this. We didn't even really start pushing it aggressively until 2 months in. But you have to have the plan in motion and you start to build on it.
Yeah.
So when I even looked at the sales pattern, the first 2 months there wasn't really much activity. Actually, I'm like, do you know what happened was when I looked at it today? Although we had a plan, we didn't release it because we released it to our community first, our mentoring community.
Yes.
And they bought it instantly.
Yeah.
So and then it went online publicly.
Yes.
So that perhaps when I looked at those stats, it probably isn't that accurate based on the fact that we didn't actually make it a thing.
But again, the importance of having a community, right?
Yeah.
And people you can offer opportunities to straight away, and there's so many different elements to that. And I think when people are planning events company, you need to make sure you have your community of people who will be interested and give you that foundation, and then you start doing all the marketing and so on.
Yeah. Well, I think that's enough for you.
Thanks.
Hopefully it helps. If you guys are creating an event, good luck, and let us know how it goes. But running events is not easy. I'll give you that. It's not easy, although it may look easy. But anyway, we
have a whole events cupboard.
Yeah, the storage was crazy.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm Bianca.
I'm Byron.
And Self-Made
It's the home of entrepreneurship.